today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 dinners from my weeknight meal plan. Well, thank you so much for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me today in the kitchen. Well, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 dinners that I had this week. And in my meal plan, I always like to try and include an Italian meal, a Mexican meal, a crockpot meal, a homestyle meal, and a seafood meal. So those are the meals that I'm going to be sharing with you. Now the first meal that I'm going to be sharing with you is going to be the Italian meal. And this week we had ravioli and a salad. The first thing that you're going to notice is that I was having major camera issues while filming the ravioli, but I promise the rest of the video will be just fine. When I buy my ravioli, I buy large bags and then separate it down into meal-sized portions and vacuum seal it. Here, I'm just popping it in the microwave for a few minutes to soften it up before boiling it in the water, and I've preheated my oven to 375. While your ravioli is boiling, go ahead and get your favorite store-bought or homemade spaghetti sauce and just cover the bottom of a casserole dish. Spread it evenly to each of the corners, and then we're just going to pour our ravioli right on top of that. Once all of your raviolis are spread evenly throughout your dish, go ahead and pour the other half of your sauce on top. Now grab a bag of your shredded mozzarella cheese and put that on top. And then finally, I like to sprinkle mine with a little Italian seasoning, but that step is optional. Now all you're going to have to do is cover that dish with aluminum foil and bake it in the 375-degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. While that's baking, I'm going to go ahead and throw a simple salad together. I removed the foil in the last 5 minutes of baking, and here is the end result. This perfectly zesty and cheesy ravioli makes the perfect meal for anyone's Meatless Monday. Okay, well you really couldn't get much easier than that. So now let's move on to a simple Mexican meal. Now if you saw my video from last week, and if you didn't, I'll link it up above, I had keto queso cheese dip. And along with that, I served bean and cheese tostadas. Well, my husband enjoyed the bean and cheese tostadas so much that he wanted to have them again this week. And since I showed you the bean and cheese tostadas last week, and we all know what a soft taco looks like, I'll show you what I chose to do with mine. Okay, well this meal is almost too easy to even list on here. I just have my soft taco shells, the bean and cheese tostadas, and all the fixings here for you to make them as you like. We have some cilantro, tomatoes, green onions, sour cream, salsa, and cheese. And here is the way I like to fix mine. I start out with a little bit of crunchy Doritos and make a perfect little salad. Okay, now the third meal is going to be our homestyle meal. This week I decided to do some fried pork chops with roasted cubed sweet potatoes and buttered Brussels sprouts. I thought I would start this one out with a little tip. Place a wet paper towel under your cutting boards to keep them from moving around. Now that I have that secure and in place, I'm just going to cube up 2 large sweet potatoes. Now that all the potato is cubed and ready to go, I'm going to prepare my pan. I make mine on a sheet pan, and I have a silicone mat that I absolutely love. If you don't have one of these silicone mats, I'll link it down below, but you can also use aluminum foil or just spray your pan with any nonstick spray. Just spread those around evenly and season them with a little salt. Place them in the oven at 425 for 25 minutes. Now let's get the pork chops ready. Again, a tip of mine is to buy in bulk and then separate it down into meal-sized portions. Now we're going to get our seasoned flour ready by using a half a cup of flour and then 1 teaspoon of your favorite seasoning. I'm using the Aldi's equivalent of the Mrs. Dash. You could also just use salt, pepper, and garlic if you'd like. Now we're going to mix that up very well together. And now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of oil to our skillet and turn your heat on medium-high. While the skillet's warming up, we're going to go ahead and dredge those pork chops in the flour mixture. Okay, once they're all coated well with the flour mixture, let's go ahead and take them over to our hot skillet and start frying. Another tip is to sprinkle a little of flour in the skillet to check the oil temperature. If it starts to fry, then you know it's ready for your pork chops. Once you have all of your pork chops in the pan, we're going to go ahead and hit it with another dash of salt and pepper, and then you're going to cook these pork chops for 4 to 5 minutes on each side. Now for what I consider to be the best tip of all, and that is to clean as you go. This is going to be a huge help when it comes to that dreaded after dinner cleanup. Now I hit them again with that salt and pepper, and I actually put a little bit more of that Mrs. Dash on there too. Let's check on those sweet potatoes. I like to check them about halfway through to make sure that they're getting tender and to give them one good flip. And speaking of flip, when it comes to removing your fried meat from the skillet, give it one final flip, and this is going to burn off any blood that may have risen to the surface during the cooking process. Now all I have to do is get these sweet potatoes ready, and to do that I just simply put them in a bowl with a big dollop of butter and some salt and pepper. You could add some cinnamon and brown sugar if you'd like. In only 5 minutes I'll have these Brussels sprouts and butter sauce ready as the final addition to this meal. Now this fourth meal is going to be our Crockpot Meal. This week I'm doing the Mississippi pot roast. If you haven't heard of that, you've got to give this a try. It is so good and so full of flavor. And believe it or not, this seems to be a pretty common way to prepare a roast, and I only heard of it about a year ago. So I know there may still be some of you out there that have never tried it as well. So if you haven't, I urge you, if you don't try any of these recipes this week, give the Mississippi pot roast a try. This is definitely a dump and go crockpot meal. All you need is an Au Ju packet, ranch seasoning, 1 stick of butter, some Perrincini peppers, and your chuck roast. And you're going to begin by placing the chuck roast in your crock pot. Add the packet of ranch seasoning to the top of your roast. Add the Au Ju packet seasoning. And now it's time for the butter. You can cut this up, but I like to just place mine right on top. And then the final ingredient is going to be the 8 to 10 Perrincini peppers. And I like to finish it off by adding about a half a cup of that juice. Place the lid on top, and you can cook this on low for 6 to 8 hours, or it'll be ready in 4 to 6 on high. Okay, so when the time is up, you're just going to go ahead and take that lid off and give it a good stir to shred up the meat. Now this next step is optional, but it's what I like to do to mine. I go ahead and make a cornstarch slurry, which is going to be 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water. And I'm going to add that to the crock pot to thicken up the juices just a little bit. And while that juice is thickening up, I'll go ahead and prepare the other sides. I like to serve my Mississippi pot roast with some mashed potatoes, and today I'm using the instant type. And a little tip I have is if you add a little milk to your instant potatoes, it adds a creamy homemade flavor. The next vegetable that I like to serve with this is going to be corn. This is also going to be quick and super simple because it's steamable, which means it's ready in 5 minutes. Okay, and then finally is going to be our seafood meal for the week. This week we're having blackened salmon with a cucumber sauce, rice, and broccoli. We're going to start this meal out by putting together the blackened seasoning. What you'll need for this is the chili powder, ground cumin, black pepper, olive oil, and your favorite Cajun seasoning. In a small bowl, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of your favorite Cajun seasoning. Next, you're going to put 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Mix that together very well and add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That's all you're going to need to add the perfect amount of heat to any meats. Now that our seasoning mix is ready, let's grab that sheet pan and line it with a silicone mat or some parchment paper. Blot your salmon dry with a paper towel and then spread on a generous amount of your blackened seasoning. I prefer mine without the blackened seasoning, so I'm just going to put a little bit of salt, pepper, and garlic powder on mine. This salmon is not even cooked yet, and it looks so good that you can actually see the flavor. You're now ready to place the salmon in a 400-degree oven for 20 minutes, or until they're fully cooked and flake apart. While the salmon's baking, let's get started on our cucumber cream sauce, and you'll start out by adding 3 tablespoons of plain yogurt to a small bowl. Then 1 tablespoon of your favorite mayonnaise, a little dash of salt and a dash of pepper, then shred a 1/4 to a half a cup of cucumber. That's all it takes for this 3-ingredient creamy cucumber sauce. You can go ahead and pop that in the fridge until the salmon's ready. Now let's work on the sides. I'm going to start out by making this easy, ready rice. And I'm going to serve that along with some steamed broccoli that has Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, garlic, and butter. salmon is now ready, so we're gonna go ahead and plate this up on top of the rice. Now all that's left to do is to top it with that creamy cucumber sauce that adds the perfect contrast to the blackening seasoning. Okay, so those are the 5 dinners from this week's meal plan. We had the Italian, the Mexican, the Homestyle, Crockpot, and seafood. I hope that this inspired you and helped you get a few new ideas for your meal plan. Well, I'm a strong believer that a good home-cooked meal doesn't have to be complicated. You just gotta put a little bit of your heart into it. If you enjoyed today's video, but you didn't get a chance to see last week's, just go ahead and click on this first video card to watch it now. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Bye.
'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better.